Alright, hello, welcome back. We're going to do a video on Spider-Man and philosophy, which it's actually kind of shocking I haven't done one of these yet. We're starting at the grave of Ben Parker, right here, because it has to do with the famous Spider-Man saying, with great power comes great responsibility. Now, there are a couple of variations off this. There must come great responsibility, or there will come great responsibility, but regardless, great responsibility must happen if you have great power. That's pretty much what it says, and that's how it's meant to go. So, this is actually very interesting that this philosophy appeared in a comic book. It was when comics weren't taken as seriously, although the writers were actually very good at the time in the 1960s. And it's a really deep philosophy that's been around for quite a while. The Knights of the Round Table were the legend of the Knights of the Round Table, I should say, puts them with this one. Might for right, not might is right, might for right. It's kind of hard to say that when you're talking really fast and you're swinging like this. But regardless, might for right is what they said. But it goes back even further. The teachings of Jesus Christ, as found in the Bible, make frequent reference to this sort of philosophy. There is, unto much is given, much is required, from the Bible. There's also an interesting parable in the Bible that illustrates this, about the talents. The parable of the talents is what it's called. And talents in this are used as a unit of measurement. I don't know if they actually were or not, but in this parable they were. And it starts with a moneylender who is really an interesting choice for this, if you study it. Just slightly off topic here, but he's the equivalent nowadays, or similar anyway, to loan sharks. So it's like the parable of the loan shark, which just sounds wrong to most people. Anyway, the parable goes like this. This moneylender was leaving, and he trusted 3 men with talents. To the first he gave 5 talents, to the second he gave 2 talents, and to the third he gave a single talent. So he left, and then when he returned, he checked on their progress with the talents. The first guy, he said, he managed to, work with it and grow his talents. So he now had 10 talents instead of 5. Second man, likewise, worked with it and managed to make 2 additional talents. So he now had 4 talents instead of 2. The third man comes to him and says, this was such a sacred responsibility. You trusted me so much with this. I was afraid to disappoint you, so I'm going to go back this way. So I took my talent, I buried it to keep it safe. So it's good. And the moneylender was very upset at this. He said, look, I gave this to you so you could grow it, so you could work with it. You should have at least put it in the bank so it could have gotten interest. What the heck, man? So he took the talent away from the man who had done nothing with the talent and gave it to the man who had 5 talents. And that's pretty much the illustration of this great power, great responsibility. So I've done, I've talked about the parables and all the cool stuff about that. But what does it actually mean? And seriously, what sort of responsibility do you take on when you have power? Well, and this appears in all kinds of things. The Hippocratic Oath is a good example of this. It's basically an oath all doctors have to take, and I don't know all the details of it, but the big one, the one that pretty much everybody knows, is do no harm. Just do the best you can to help people, and hopefully it will all work out really nicely. Because, yeah, doctors have a great deal of responsibility, and that can really go to your head. And, and we get caught up in our own life and our own troubles. That, all this great power is either, squandered or misused, because it's all for the good of all of us. I suggest everyone read the original Spider-Man, the very first Spider-Man, the one that appears in Amazing Fantasy number 15, which has this example, because Spider-Man wasn't really doing anything wrong per se. He didn't stop a criminal because, you know, it's not his job, and his full intention was to look out for himself and for his aunt and uncle. You know, and he was going to do that by using that to make money. He wasn't going to, you know, and that he's basically going to look out for himself. With all of his power, he's going to do all the stuff that would help him, his aunt, and his uncle, which is not a bad thing. In fact, most people are encouraged, you know, take care of your relatives, take care of your, you know, go out into the world, help those around you, help your relatives. And you help your relatives first. But where he went wrong was in helping only his relatives, him making it an exclusive thing that only his relatives were the only ones he was going to help. What happens is that the man that he just, you know, stood back, let him go, was actually killed his uncle, Ben Parker. So it's a great lesson on how everything is connected, for one thing, and it's also kind of a really humbling experience for him, because he once he did that, once he realized that connection, he realized that, you know, other people, this guy could have killed anybody, but he killed my relative, and then some other person is going, if he hadn't, some other person would suffer, and I would be back where I was. I would just be looking out for number one and not really doing much of anything. And it's kind of been interpreted by some people, or at least the impression I get from some people, is that, you know, it's just working in the show business was what was, you know, he shouldn't do that if he has great powers. And to a certain extent, that's right. But what a lot of people don't realize is that after Uncle Ben died, he actually did work in show business very briefly. It actually led to a really funny sequence in it where he tries to cash a check as Spider-Man, and they won't take the check, even though it's like, dude, I'm obviously Spider-Man. Do you want me to climb on the walls to prove it? But they won't cash it because, you know, he couldn't show ID. Which, you know, it's just kind of a funny moment, but he did. He went back and tried to make some money at show business to support himself and his aunt. So it wasn't being in show business. It was his failure to stop crime when crime was happening, when he has all these power and ability to stop and save people. So let's take a step back. Let's apply it to ourselves. So, everybody... Oh, wait. And this is Dr. Strange's house! Yay! Anyway, very strange place that. So anyway, let's apply it to ourselves. We all have, you know, situations where we are good. We have skill or talent in one way or another. So how do we apply that skill? How do we use that talent? Are we using it correctly? Are we using it incorrectly? One of the things that's become popular among academics nowadays, and these people have a great deal of talent. They have knowledge, and they're there to teach people, teach us, teach our children, teach everyone. But somehow, in recent years, it's become a popular, I'm going to say popular thing for academics to preach a certain political viewpoint, the liberal and oftentimes an extreme liberal point of view. Now, there's nothing wrong with them holding this point of view. I'm not going to, you know, say, I hit a tree and just completely slowed down there. Now, I'm not going to say that you shouldn't have a certain political view if you're an academic. No, by all means, have whatever view you want. But the thing about it is, you should be teaching your subject in a fair, non-political way. You should not be going out and telling people that, you know, teaching politics and telling people how to do it. Now, it's, you know, when college professors do this, it is kind of annoying, especially, you know, you've got young minds who really haven't made up their mind yet, so it is very annoying, oftentimes, when they try to teach, you know, try to push their views on young people. But it's even worse when you have elementary school teachers who do this, and this has happened. There have been elementary school teachers who have written their tests specifically You know, basically saying, well, President Trump is a bad president, President Obama was a great president, and having that as being part of the test that the kids would have to, you know, answer in such a way that would conform with their political views. And so that, to me, is what this is about. It's, you've got, I'm gonna say it's a sacred responsibility to teach people, to pass on knowledge and understanding, and instead you use it as, in the same way a pundit might use it, for political ends and means, to, you know, showcase, to push your political views on other people. Now, when you're off, when you're doing your own time, and you want to discuss your political views or teach other people about your political views, that's fine. But when you're hired to do a job and teach something else, that's, I think, is an abuse of your responsibility. And that's exactly what Spider-Man is talking about in that regard. Don't abuse your responsibilities. Don't, you know, just because you can do something with your responsibilities doesn't mean you should do something with it. Or in the case of Spider-Man, just because you know, you have a responsibility to teach people, yes. And you could teach people and help them learn and understand so many things, and you choose not to. You choose to teach your own political views. And I'm going to come right out and say, no, that's wrong. But yeah, everybody, like I was saying, everybody has their own talents and their own abilities. And what we do with them helps us determine what sort of person we will be. And, you know, are we going to take the great power we have with the knowledge we have? I mean, no matter what your talent is, if your talent is, you know, doing taxes, something really boring like, you know, economics or something like that, that's still a talent you can take and you can grow and you can teach people and you can do so many incredible things with it. You know, you can help people, you can do all kinds of stuff with your talent. But only if you know, take responsibility for your talent and really don't misuse your talent for different things. Don't misuse your talent and do that. You have that great responsibility. And I think in that way, Spider-Man is all of us. He had a harsh lesson coming to him when he did not take responsibility for his actions, or he didn't understand that just by not doing something, he could have a catastrophic effect on life in general, his own life in particular. So, let's get a good Spider-Man looking out over his own city to end this up with. But yep, in conclusion, great power, great responsibility, and every one of us has that power in one way or another. So let's use it responsibly. Anyway, that's my look at Spider-Man's most famous bit of philosophy. Like and subscribe if you like it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.